I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 7 p.m. This is the regular meeting of the Kaneland Board of Education. We would like to inform all board member attendees that this meeting is being live streamed and archived for access at any time by our community members on the internet within 24 to 48 hours of the meeting's conclusion. All right, please stand with me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Yes. So Board Secretary Julie Orfel is absent. Therefore, I would like to make a motion to appoint Jackie Bogan as Secretary Pro Tem.
So moved. Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All right. So then, at this point, if we could get a roll call, please.
Sure. Mr. Gonzalez.
Here.
Mr. Kleisner.
Here.
Mr. Lawler.
Here.
Mr. Mankivsky.
Here.
Mr. McCauley.
Here.
Mrs. Simmons.
Here.
All right. And we have board member Edmund Cook is absent. So with 6 members present, we have a quorum. Is there anything the board would like to move from consent agenda to new business? No? We're good? Okay, hearing nothing, we will need to amend the agenda for tonight's closed session to include 5 ILCS 120, excuse me, 2C10. That being said, I'll entertain to move to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Mr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky.
Aye.
All right, that's a 6-0. It is now time for the board superintendent salutes, and I will turn it over to Dr. Layden.
Yes, thank you. We have one tonight, Wednesday, November 15th, annually is Board Member Appreciation Day. And on behalf of the district and the community, we see there's a cookie, a certificate, and a balloon to share our appreciation to our Board of Education. It's a volunteer position. It is, as you know, it's a lot of work. There's a lot of evenings. In addition to just serving at board meetings, there are other duties and responsibilities. There's mandated training, there are Mishawaka Division meetings, there's the joint annual conference, which is an optional conference, but a great PD opportunity for board members later this weekend. So just on behalf of the district and the community, would like to say thank you. We appreciate your work. So please join me in recognizing our Board of Education. Thank you. And the cookie can be taken home and shared, can be consumed, however you want to access your cookie. That is your favorite cookie, do what you like. So thank you for your dedication and service to the district.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Layden.
you. That was all I had for tonight.
Okay. Dr. Fuchs?
I don't have anything, thank you.
All right. Tonight's consent agenda contains the following action items. 1, approval of the Treasurer's Report, October 2023. Approval of the minutes for the October 30th, 2023 regular meeting. Approval of personnel. Approval of the destruction of audio recordings from closed session meetings from May 2022. Approval of the Fox Valley Career Center fees for use of the Kaneland facilities. And the following informational items. The Student Suspension Data Report, the Freedom of Information Act Report. At this point, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley. Mr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky.
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Passes 6-0. Okay, it is now that special time in the meeting when we move to public comments. Seeing that we have 2 signed up right now, I will go ahead and read the spiel. We use the public comment section as an opportunity to listen to our stakeholders. The board does not debate or engage in conversation at this time. I'd like to remind everyone to please state your name and village of residence for the record. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Public comment is a maximum of 30 minutes with a 20-minute total length of time for any one subject. Those who wish to speak are asked to maintain a tone of courtesy and civility. So first up, forgive me if I brought your last name, but Mike Roskoff.
My name is Mike Roskoff. My daughter Charlotte, 6th grade, is at Ignites Academy, and I also have a son who attends Harder. My daughter showed interest in going to Ignite Academy. However, I knew very little about it. Therefore, I was very hesitant sending her to Ignite. The advertisement of the school was that it was personalized learning. However, that wasn't enough for me to her mom to really understand what that meant and how it's different than traditional school. I've heard a lot of people that don't understand what it is about and why we need it. Just like me before my daughter approached me about it. For those of you in this room who don't know about it, I'll explain it. At traditional school, a kid might get an A or a B in a class, and both the parents and the student would assume that they have mastered the subject, but however, they might have struggled in one aspect of the class that's not reflected in the grade. This is where personalized learning helps fill the gap. It gives students more input in what areas they're excelling at and what areas they're struggling at. When my daughter is at the 7th grade level for most areas of math, there's still a few skills where she is still at the 6th grade level. Personalized learning lets her spend extra time at 6th grade level items where she move ahead in the remaining items at the 7th grade level. My daughter claims she has learned more in the first 2 months in 6th grade than she'd learned in the first half of 5th grade. She can move at her own pace. If she struggles, she can get help. But if she masters an area, she does not need the class to catch up, since she can move at her own task. The one misconception I had with this personalized learning would be much more costly than traditional education. And from what I have learned, that is not the case. As I said, my son goes to Harder, and has great grades and loves school. I personally don't think it was good for my son. However, I think my daughter is a perfect fit for her. As long as a motivated kid like my daughter to move ahead and learn more in areas she excels at. I want to thank the Board of Education and all the educators that made Ignite Academy possible, and hope it becomes a personal education option for our students.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Next up, is it Jean or Jenny? Janine, excuse me. Mel.
Hi, I'm Janine Mayer from Elburn. Is this working? Can you
It
hear me?
is.
Okay.
You won't hear anything, but it's going live to us.
I asked some teachers to tell me some of their concerns, things that could promote a better learning environment. Because we know that since COVID, the percentage of kids at Kaneland, as far as reading, math, all of the important classes, subjects, they have really fallen, and we have to get those back up. So some of the things that they told me. They would like the dress code. These are things to help promote a better learning environment. They'd like the dress code addressed. The clothes, especially girls, are so inappropriate, revealing chests, butts, stomachs, and consigned to school in sports, and they come to school in sports bras and even outfits that look like swimsuits, tight little skirts and bralettes. The next one. They would like the phones turned off at the beginning of each class. Don't use the excuse that you need it for a calculator. Bring one if needed. No earphones or earbuds allowed in class. Allow the teachers to discipline and hold the students accountable with consequences for late work, no work, and disrespect. Bring back and enforce the dress code. No hats in elementary and middle school. Okay in high school. Another area that teachers would like to be addressed is the dress code. This is another one on the dress code. At the high school, we see girls wearing sports bras with leggings. That's it. Sometimes the girls wear sports bras with a zip-up hoodie, but they have the hoodie hanging off one shoulder so the bra's exposed. Girls are wearing crop tops that are tucked under their bra so their entire stomach is exposed. Bra straps are showing, and even saw a girl this past week wearing a lacy see-through bra with a shirt over it that had holes in it so you could see right through. It seemed like her nipples were strategically covered. Teachers are just asking that no skin is showing, no cleavage is showing, no undergarments are showing. It makes for a very difficult environment for everyone to focus, especially the boys. Male teachers say it's very hard to teach these type of girls while they're sitting in the classrooms. It's just an inappropriate place to dress like that. Schools should be having a dress code that is followed for their own good. At the elementary and middle school, teachers would like to see a no hat or hoodie policy in place inside the buildings. These hats, baseball and winter hats, are distracting as they play with the hats, switch the hats, steal the hats, wear their hoodies, and then pull the strings tight so you can't see their faces. Maybe allow hats in high school so they have a little bit more freedom, but it's definitely a huge distraction at the elementary and middle school level. Kids will fight you if you ask them to remove their hats at the middle and elementary because they say it's their right. We need to remind them that it's a privilege, not a right. It's not allowing them to do their best work. Hats are for outside.
Mrs. Marr.
Finally, I know about mapping versus a curriculum, and I need to look into that more. Okay.
We'll have to respectfully ask you to wrap it up.
Pardon me?
We'll have to respectfully ask you to wrap it up.
Okay. Throughout Kaneland District, kindergarten is now using a curriculum to teach letters, handwriting, and sounds called Jolly Phonics. The rest of the primary grades in the district use foundations. Why are we teaching one curriculum for letters, sounds, and handwriting in kindergarten and then changing it to a different curriculum for first, second, and third grade for letters, sounds, and handwriting? This must be really challenging for the kindergartner to adapt a new curriculum in first grade. Geneva tried Jolly Phonics several years ago and it didn't work. They got rid of it because they saw such poor results. Why are we doing it now?
Ma'am, to be fair to all speakers, we're going to have to adhere to the 3-minute rule.
All right.
I apologize. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak at public comment at this time? All right. So then at this point, we're going to move forward to new business. And the first item of new business is the discussion and approval of the KHS course book. Dr. Layton, please provide more information.
Yes, thank you. Annually at this board meeting, this is a two-part presentation. First, go ahead and head up there, Mr. Raleigh. Mr. Raleigh will give an overview of course book additions, any course book changes, any class title changes. He'll give an overview of that for tonight. Then that will be action is needed on first reading, and if there are no changes, additions, or anything to bring back, that would follow up at the second board meeting or our next board meeting in November on consent or approval. If there's anything that the board members need, Mr. Raleigh can always bring that back at the next meeting for new business as needed. Otherwise, it's followed up at the second meeting on consent if it's approved tonight. So with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Raleigh, and he can walk us through course book. And just please remind us through the timeline of the course book as you go through the process. Mr. Raleigh.
Thank you for your time tonight. We are here to talk a little bit about essentially 3 sections for tonight. We have a few courses where we are recommending just name changes, nothing to the content of those courses. We are proposing several new courses to be added for selection for the 24-25 school year. And then we have 2 recommendations for our graduation requirements. And some of that is the naming behind it. Some of it is to meet or be better aligned with some of the state mandates. But speaking to timeline, this is a process that will lay out the course selection or the course options for our students as they begin to register for next school year. That typically happens around the January timeframe. We usually, as Dr. Layton shared, we will present all of those. It will come back in a second board meeting, and once that final approval is given, our counselors then start to work with our 8th grade class. We usually, I think it's tentatively scheduled around the end of January 24th, 25th-ish, where they start to look at these course options and start to build out what their plans for the coming school year will look like. So these are courses that would impact course selection for next year. The process behind this, there's one caveat that I'll go through, but typically we follow a time frame that begins at the end of spring. When we are getting our department chairs together, we get a curriculum committee together that is entirely made up of high school staff members and our building administrative team to look at any proposed changes. Sometimes those changes might be mandates from the state. We go through an audit process, and the Regional Office of Education will look at what our course offerings are, and sometimes there are things that we have to change just to meet state requirements. There are sometimes updated language that is added. Sometimes we're looking at prerequisites, but sometimes there's an entirely new course that is needed to be adding, or our teams want to add. So we'll start that proposal, those proposals usually in the springtime. We then come back to start the school year, and we more thoroughly vet those before putting together the presentation that we have for you tonight. We get all of the feedback, comments, questions from our board, and then upon final approval, we will share that with our community as they get ready to make course selection. The one caveat to that, I'm very excited to share out that we are increasing the number of dual credit courses that we have at the high school. The dual credit time frame fell a little bit outside of that springtime. This one really accelerated in August, September. Part of that was due to meeting there's a high school partnership at Wabanzi Community College. There's a gentleman that oversees that transition, that job was in transition. So we previously worked with a gentleman that had taken a different role. So we were waiting for that hire to come on to work with us, because there are needed certifications, transcripts, things like that for our Kaneland teachers to be able to offer those courses. So that fell out of that time frame a little bit. We share this with our union leadership to gather any kind of feedback. We usually do that 10 days before. So we were able to get that feedback as well when we're looking at these changes. With that being said, the first piece, we are looking at 3 courses that we are asking the board to consider the changes of their name. So none of the content to these courses will change. There's no financial impact to this. There are no new textbooks or licenses or anything that is associated with this. These are really in working with the professionals that teach these classes and the content that is covered. We really want to make sure that we are best aligned with our course titles to what is being instructed. So you see we have 3: Armed Conflict, World History 1, and World History 2 are currently courses that run in our high school this year. As students select courses for next year, we're looking at changing that armed conflict to history of armed conflict. So it does go back into some historical wars. I think it goes all the way back to the Greco-Persian Wars, all the way up through modern armed conflict, talks of impact that armed conflict has on society. That content has not changed. And then for World History 1 and World History 2, we wanted those to more accurately represent the content that's covered. So our proposed changes for World History 1 would be ancient, to change that name to Ancient World History. And then for World History 2 would be more of that modern history, modern world history. So those are the 3 proposals that we have. Is there any questions about those? I can go through all of this and we can circle back at the end, but it is broken down into name changes, additions, and graduation requirements. So if there are any questions about those name changes, I'm happy to answer those now, when we can address them later as well.
Do you have a question?
More along the lines, in going and developing these classes, have you also gauged student interest?
Yes,
So
there's a piece of that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't have a student that sits on that committee, but we do through different opportunities. We do have a group of students that meets with Dr. Horn on a variety of topics. So we do try to build in those interests when they do come up. We've seen that with, I think that the most recent ones probably are more aligned with some of our CTE offerings,
Okay.
but we do have some students that will share with us, hey, I'm interested in this, or we'll see, sometimes we see clubs that pop up and rather than paying for not an extracurricular from Kaneland, but an outside club, if there's a large enough group of students that wants that, and there is a curriculum that coincides with that, sometimes we'll look at those offerings as well. All right, so for our new proposals, we are looking at 6 new proposals. We're going to start with math, work through some CTE courses, and then finish up with talking about a new exciting option we have coming out of our social studies review that we are undergoing this year. So looking at those first three really that are listed on the board, when we talk about transitions to quantitative literacy, a dual credit college algebra, and an AP calculus class. Please note, we currently offer AP calculus. The addition to this would be we are able to integrate the dual credit offering into our existing AP course. So students will have the opportunity to elect to get dual credit for Waubonsee Community College if they enroll in that course. I'm not going to go through in great detail the course description itself. A lot of this describes the actual content that is being offered. More so if we look at what this means. The transitions to quantitative literacy is a semester-long math elective, and it is intended for our high school seniors. It is a college preparatory class. It is to prepare kids for a college level math course, and it does serve in this case as a prerequisite to the next course we're proposing as a dual for our dual credit college algebra. So a typical path, so there may be some changes to this or some additional options, but a typical path for a senior would be to take transitions to quantitative lit in their fall semester, and then getting a C or better, they will be guaranteed placement into the college algebra dual credit class. There are a couple other options as far as scores and placements are considered for this course. So this transitions course, a student could take that and qualify for a guaranteed credit bearing course at math at the next level at any one of our Illinois community colleges. But the most likely path, and the path that we've partnered it with tonight, would be for the transitions to quantitative lit first semester, and then we'll talk here in just a second of what that dual credit college algebra looks like. This one, and I lay that out because this course does not come with additional fees, whereas our dual credit course will, that we will see in just a moment. That dual credit course is college algebra. It is looking at some of the things that are outlined up here. This would be a semester-long elective as well, and it would qualify, or a successful completion of this course would result in those students earning 3 math credits, which was the equivalency of Math 101 at Waubonsee Community College. If I can jump down to those asterisks down at the bottom, a little different than our current courses, because this is a college math class. There are some associated fees with this. Most importantly, students that register for this dual credit course, this particular dual credit algebra, they will be required per Waubonsee Community College policy, they will pay $36. It is a $12 per credit fee that all students have to pay. So if this class is proposed and our students enroll or choose to enroll in this course, they register and enroll as a Waubonsee Community College student. They get a student ID number. So there is a fee that is associated with this. Alongside of that, what would be addition to what our current high schoolers experience, there is a book rental. There is a book fee that is associated with this course. We met with the gentleman that runs the high school partnerships from Waubonsee. That book is not set by Kaneland. That book is determined by the math department at Waubonsee. Once they determine that, our students then, and Kaneland can work with our students to secure that textbook. His recommendation was that that can be rented, and the rental fee is about $20. That may change here and there, but typically when they've looked at some of those of the books they've used in the past, that rental fee is about $20. He said content-wise, we do have the option to use, I believe it's 1 to 2 years of an outdated, for lack of better terms, edition. So if I'm using the 2024 edition and next year the 2028 edition comes out, I can continue to rent the 2024 because the content aligns with what those offerings are. So that's a unique piece to this, because we don't charge our kids to take Kaneland classes, but this is truly a Waubonsie class. So there are some external fees from Waubonsie Community College that our students would be required to pay. Yes, sir.
Are there any resources available or programs for students who may not, may struggle to be able to afford this? I know it doesn't seem like a lot of money to everybody, but it can be. Are there options out there for support?
Yeah. Have you approached Dunham Foundation?
We have not approached Dunham Foundation. That would be potential next steps upon approval for this. I do know it. I know how free and reduced fees work for the K-12 setting. I am not sure what that would look like for higher education, but something that I'd be happy to look into and bring back and share with Dr. Layden or with the board.
This seems
Thank you.
a lot like what Dunham Foundation typically has funded. I know has funded at 129, the dual credit programs that West Aurora has, and I think at 101.
I don't want to speak out of turn. I'm always worried about this kind of on the border about this, right? But if they'll have an X number, you said they'll have an ID number.
Correct.
Then they're eligible to apply for emergency grant funding that we have for students that need to pay for books, or there's all kinds of.
You mean at the
services.
Waubonsie level?
I went Waubonsie.
Waubonsie.
Yeah, so because they have an X number, they're eligible for that.
I just hate for a student to be disincentivized over,
For sure.
what is a relatively small amount, but not every family can afford it.
Yeah, so we do this a lot. There's a lot of ways. There's a lot of great avenues for it. So
Okay.
They have to demonstrate need, but
Right.
That's
Right.
it's very similar, I would imagine, to the K-12 level.
Okay. Thank you.
And this is open to all students who otherwise qualify.
All students that qualify,
So
yes,
special needs students might be on the spectrum, but
for sure. If they are,
quality of math,
for this class in particular, just a prerequisite to note, where that alignment ideally lines up with our quantitative lit class that we just talked about, a student can earn a 3.0 plus a certain score. It's a 530 on the PSAT, or a C or better in Algebra 2. So there are a couple other avenues to be eligible for this dual credit course. And we will work with our students on an individual basis depending on what math they've taken. Thus far, we do our math department, and I know Mr. Schroll is here, the assistant principal at the high school, has done a great job of pinpointing all the different paths that a student could take to earn additional college credit. So excited to be able to offer that, and knowing that this can be really, really positive for our students. The third math class that has the potential to earn a student college credit would be our AP Calculus AB, where that's a lot of A's and B's and P's. We do offer an AP Calculus BC course. So this one is one that we currently have in our course book. The difference would be that we now have staff, and we have the course alignment with the Math 131 course at Waubonsie. So students, again, going through that same process, they can elect to take the AP Calc as a dual credit course for Waubonsie. They would pay that same $36 fee. This one is a little bit different because our textbooks cover that content. So as paying their Kaneland fees, they would have that textbook available to them. They would just pay the $36 Waubonsie fee to earn the dual credit. We do have staff that are certified for all of the courses. I should have mentioned that from the onset. From all of these courses, we do currently have all of the staff on hand that are eligible to teach these courses. And because we currently offer this, there is no other budgetary impact by adding this course. It would simply be when students are registering that they're selecting that dual credit path while taking this. That wraps up math. We are going to move into two new CTE offerings. Our first is food science. So had the opportunity last year, and it was strictly around checking out the content and had nothing to do that it was on food trucks, but our foods class is doing some really, really cool things. And that is kind of the hook that our kids are getting around. So had the chance to go in and sample some food and look at business plans and art for food trucks and recipes, and they're doing some really, really neat things. But we don't want it just to be a fun, cool class. So looking at food science is really talking about food preparation, mixtures, the microbiology, fermentation, all of the science pieces that go into food, nutrition plans, and the like that are centered around food and diet. It is a semester course. Because there is a component of science to this, students must first successfully complete food and nutrition and 2 years of a science content class. It is science heavy. This course right now will run every other year. So we're proposing, and this is outlined in our course book, that this would run in the upcoming 24-25 school year, and then it would run again in the 26-27 school year. We currently have staff to teach this. The staff that uses and teaches food and food science, there are some additional requirements and certifications that they have to go through in terms of food handling and preparation. So when we look at just the number of students that are able to go through this progression, we didn't want to offer a course and have it conflict with our staff member that is able to teach these. So in the coming years, we are going to certainly look to grow this and look to grow the teachers that have that additional certification to teach that. But right now, to ensure their success, we are proposing that they run every other year. And then in between years, we're focusing on a new group that's coming in to the food and nutrition in those science courses. So they would run, and we have probably about 7 or 8 other courses outside of CTE and foods that run on a similar path. They run every other year, and that's really it's security in numbers and making sure that we are able to run the courses with the staff that we have. There are some budget items that go with this. Most notably, it is grocery shopping. It is food. Students are developing menus. Our teacher is going out and shopping for these items. So there, again, that certification on food handling, we want to make sure that we're following those requirements. All of that budget is already allocated through our CTE department. So there is no additional costs. All of those costs can be covered by what our already yearly allocated budget is for this course. The second CTE course is looking at animal health and nutrition. This is a semester course. Again, this is an elective course. We're looking at students that have a C+ or better in biology due to, again, that science component to this. We do have freshmen based on our course offerings that would be eligible in the second semester. So offered to all of our students. We have staff that is able to teach this. Right now, we are able to cover any new materials or additions to the content with our building budget. If there are additional costs that come from this or are needed for this, we do receive grant dollars specific to the National FFA organization. We do receive grant dollars not specific to this course as of right now, but there are other grant opportunities that can help offset any future costs for this. But right now, we are able to cover those with our building budgets and some grant dollars. Both of these courses right now in our course book will be offered as CTE courses. They fall into some course progressions and some pathways that students can take. A student also has the option, if they are looking for a science credit, these do meet the requirements for some of our science credits when we talk about lab sciences and things like that. So they can opt to take this as a science elective if they choose. And again, I think there's 2 or 3 other courses that we currently offer that offer the same. They are proposed as a finance class, but it also meets some of our math requirements. So they do have the option to meet both of those through both of these, the food science and the animal health and nutrition courses.
Does that mean they're both Perkins, covered by the Perkins grant?
These I would need to check on that upon approval of these, but many of our CTE courses are offset by our Perkins grant.
Yeah.
And I don't know the nuances of the CTEI grant, but there's also money that comes in through there to the CTE department. Yep.
I think these will also be covered by the ag education grant.
I saw that.
Mr. Raleigh, you'd mentioned the previous course running 24, 25, then again 26, 27. Is this on a similar timeline, or based on our staffing, will this alternate as far as offerings for students?
This animal health and nutrition would be offered every year.
Thank you.
Last but not least, we are looking at an AP psychology proposal. This year, the district, the Department of Educational Services is working with the K-12 staff in analyzing our social studies offerings. So this came from end of September. We got that group together and realized that we have the staff. We've been very, very lucky this year. We do have the staff to offer an AP Psych class, and it is an additional class then that has the potential for students to earn college credit. Walking back to the AP Calculus class and then looking at this AP Psych class, there's a little bit different credit that is earned. For our dual credit classes, those credits earned are specific to Waubonsie Community College. We have a partnership with them. They register as Waubonsie Community College students. So those classes are Waubonsie specific. An AP class is governed by the College Board, so the curriculum is set for us. And students that take an AP class have the option to take an AP test in the spring. And depending on how they do on those tests, if they score a 3, 4, or 5, they have the opportunity to earn credit for those classes at the college level. Depending on which college they apply to, it can be the difference between a 3 and a 4 or a 4 and a 5. But they do have, once they earn 3, there are several colleges and universities that will accept that as credit for the class taken, and AP Psychology would fall in those lines. So this would be a full year social studies elective course. It is built in, so as we go through, and that's an ongoing process, we will bring all of our social studies offerings to the board. Usually that comes around March. So we are in the process of building the specifics of this. With that being said, a lot of our AP classes and what we have, we are told what to do through the College Board. Again, kind of outline that it's another chance for our kids to earn that college credit. We do have staff that is certified to teach this course. There are likely financial budget constraints associated with this. However, because it falls in line with our current curricular review, I know Dr. Fuchs talked about our budget last meeting, and part of that $400,000 that Ed Services has, that is where that $400,000 goes to. When we review these materials, it would go to textbook, professional development, anything that is needed and costs that are associated. Because AP Psychology falls under the Department of our Social Studies, all of those materials would be covered through our curriculum review cycle this year.
Distinguish the two, the AP math class, dual credits, you automatically get college credit regardless if you take the test or not, assuming you get the right grade. This one, you have to take the test to get the right grade.
Correct. You would have to take AP Psych test to get the college credit for that. For the AP Calc, you would have to enroll in the dual credit component of that. Yep, you would still need to go through and file all that same paperwork with Waubonsie.
Okay.
And it would be a credit for Waubonsie specific, which could potentially transfer out.
Somewhere else.
Yep, correct. Yep.
But you don't, it's not required to take the AP test.
Correct.
Alright.
Yes, sir.
You'll run this by the Dunn and Foundation.
Yep, already made a note of it.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because this is, having had experience with them at 129, this is the type of thing that they'd like to fund.
Okay.
And Board Member Mankiski, we have worked with the Dunham Foundation on other requests, other grants. So any requests to them would not be new coming from.
Sure. Okay, I just, you know.
Last but not least, we wanted to talk about it and make a proposal to some changes for our graduation requirements. Right now, our students need 22 credits that are required for them to graduate. Some of those are state requirements. There are a couple that we would like to talk about tonight that are Kaneland specific, and we would like to share our rationale on why we want to change those. So first and foremost, if you look at this bottom third here, this applications of technology course is a CTE course that students right now are required to take. It is one of our graduation requirements. It's a 0.5 credit. We have a couple different requirements for students through our CTE department. Number one, per state mandate, they have to take a personal finance course. Our students have about 4 or 5 different options where state has approved the content of those courses meet the requirements for personal finance. And then they take another 0.5 CTE credit. Our recommendation, as we've looked at options and experiences for our students, we wanted to make sure that if there was a student that had a desire for a particular CTE pathway, that we started them in that pathway as early as possible. So our recommendation would be to change the specific applications of technology course to an orientation level CTE course. There are no state requirements specifically for applications of technology. So even with this change, we would still be meeting and fulfilling all of the state requirements for CTE and for graduation. And it breaks down like this. So that first box up top, any one of those courses are state approved content, and our students would take those. Upon successful completion, they would earn that half credit for personal finance. All of those have been approved by the board and by the state. None of those are changing. Listed below would be the orientation level classes that we are proposing students could choose from. So rather than having to take applications of technology, if I had a strong passion for agriculture, I might take that intro to ag class as my orientation level CTE, and then I would build out a potential pathway. That's not tracking kids and then they have to go into an ag track. It just allows them earlier introductions to those agricultural classes. Same holds true for construction skills, child development. So our recommendation would be not to have that app of tech specific, but open it up to all of the outlined orientation level classes through the Department of CTE.
What's the value add to this?
If you haven't had a kid take Apotech, this is huge. This is because Apotech, I don't know if you want to explain what that class consists of.
It consists of many things. It consists of computing spreadsheets. It consists of working with Microsoft and just some of the skills that are associated with more of that computing piece. And a lot of those skills are covered in several other of our course offerings. The benefit to our students would be if I wanted to focus on a specific pathway, I could do that I could start that in my freshman year rather than my sophomore year. So it allows them earlier access to content that they may be more interested in and may be more applicable to them and to what they are seeing their career path being.
So app of tech is a little bit more broad in general as far as using some of these
Yeah,
office
it's really
suites and
frustrating
technology.
for the kids at this generation because a lot of them use a lot of the stuff. They like PowerPoint, Word, Excel, spreadsheets,
Yep.
different things like that. Things that are very important for the work world, but they might be a little advanced. So a lot of kids feel that struggle a lot going, they're bored in the class. They feel like they know a lot of it already, even though they don't. There are definitely techniques, but so for them to not have to take that, it is a big frustration for a lot of kids. It's the one thing parents hear that, why do I have to take this? And so that's probably why you considered it. But to jump into like intro to mechanics or agriculture is huge because there's some kids that want to get into that part and they can't until later on in their career. So instead of taking Apotech to jump into that, it's definitely listening to the students, what they've been asking for years.
Okay,
so
cool. I would say our students and our staff as well. Our staff
Yeah.
is excited about offering a lot of these opportunities for kids.
I was just gonna ask about KEA, so does this affect FTEs?
It does not, based on the change.
Okay.
The caveat behind that comment is we always staff our FTE based on courses that students select. So if none of these courses, if this option didn't exist, all of those kids would be taking an Tech course.
Right.
We would need to staff it. They are going into any one of these courses now. So we will need the staff to teach them and teach them in these courses. So it's not going, because Tech is going, could potentially be replaced by an orientation level class.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we are then going to have to riff several teachers because that class no longer
Okay,
exists.
that's what I was. Okay.
And Dr. Adkins in March will share more about the staffing plan, but as he shares and outlines at the staffing meeting or the staffing plan, the subtleties of a high school schedule and the way 70 students. So if there were 70 students in Tech and what they choose and select could be 4 sections, could be 3 sections. So that changes based on where they fall. So it's not eliminating staff. It might just shift where students fall.
Okay. And I'm okay with that. My concern would be that we're cutting a class that was required, and now those teachers no longer have that in their load. But it seems like we're okay with that. So, okay, thank you.
And then the last proposed name change to our graduation requirements looks specifically at our science content and our science offerings. Right now, the way that these requirements are currently written as requirements specifically to Kaneland, students are required to have a biology, chemistry, physics, and environmental science content area. Those are all semester-long courses. Kaneland is the only school district in the surrounding area that breaks that content into those 4 specific courses. Every other high school surrounding us and all of our comparable districts, either they have it listed as what we're proposing as a life science and a physical science, or they just require 2 credits of science. Why this is important is that, again, when we look at students and pathways and interests, the way our courses are lined out, students have more opportunities now to invest in a year-long enhanced biology class rather than a semester of biology and then a semester of chemistry. Same thing for physics and our environmental. So our proposal aligns to the state of Illinois language. So when we talk, we are not being forced to make this change. Our current requirements, or the way they are listed, meets the requirements of the state. However, this allows a little bit more flexibility in course selection for our students. Because the number of science electives that we have, students can really start to customize some interesting paths through that 1 credit of life science and then through a credit of physical science, rather than making sure they have those semester-long content areas. If they choose, if the best route for a student is to take all of those courses are still offered. So we're not removing any courses. We're just allowing more of our electives to count towards that science credit, which aligns to what the state's mandates are and the state requirements, and it aligns to what every other high school around us currently offers. Content options stay the same.
Okay, same question. KEA and FTEs, is this going to shuffle down?
This would not impact that at all.
Okay.
So if I was interested in biology and environmental content, I could go 2 semesters of biology classes as opposed to doing a biochem, and then the physics and environmental, I could just focus on the biology.
Correct. Years ago, prior to, I think, 2 curriculum directors prior to me, Kaneland specifically outlined those 4. There was a new push for the next generation science standards, and all of these are next generation science standard courses. However, that content is not built to be a semester long course. It's far too in depth. So what we've done over the last 8 or 9 years has really looked at expanding those offerings to be able to cover that content through year-long offerings or broken up into a couple different classes. So again, we're unique in that we currently offer 4 separate content areas where all of the other schools around us offer life science or physical, or they just offer 2 credits of science. Last year, our science department did a full science review, and a lot of that came out of looking at those courses, how our students are performing compared to how they're performing against other districts, and trying to fit all of our biology content into the semester wasn't as effective as for our students as what we outlined last year through our science review.
Thank you. 'Cause I know you've done a lot of work with the teachers, and thank you to the teachers for voicing, because they've listened not only to trends, that's their job, your job, but also listening to the students and the parents. The food service, I know it's a huge, big deal too, that over the years we've had students that wanted it, then we've fallen, just other reasons and stuff like that. To see the changes that are in here are positive, and just like I said, obviously I've had kids that have graduated a few years ago. To see where we're going, thank you for the work behind this, and thank the teachers too.
Huge credit to our teachers in our high school building. They've done phenomenal work.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions or feedback?
It's really exciting stuff. I echo what Jennifer said. Yeah, really great.
Thank you.
All right.
Just a reminder, after the board approves this, you'll see this on the next meeting on the consent agenda, second reading.
Second reading. Okay, with no further discussion, thank you, Mr. Rowley. At this point, I'll entertain a motion that the Board of Education approves the KHS course book as presented upon first reading.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Dr. Lawler.
Abstain. I don't know with the Wabansi stuff.
Oh.
Got it. Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Mankowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 5, approve, 1 abstain.
Sorry, Mr. Gonzalez. I just, not a critique. I think it's great. I just want to make sure I'm keeping things separate.
And I'll find that out for you for the future,
Yeah.
if there's a parameter around that, so you're not limited in voting in the future.
Especially with the consent agenda. I was worried about that too.
You'll know by next meeting.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, well, let's go ahead and push forward to our second item of new business, which is the discussion of a 1.0 full-time employee for bilingual certified staff member at the Kaneland McDowell Elementary School. Dr. Layton.
Yes, thank you. As you see and hear regularly after the staffing plan, in March, there are other positions that are brought to the board based on changing demographics, based on changing needs. And we do have a changing demographic to some degree at McDowell. And so with that, I'll let Dr. Adkins share some of that information, the statute that we have for the code that's kind of leading the recommendation for this request.
Excellent, thank you. So, as Dr. Layden mentioned, we do always and contiguously monitor our student populations, any of the requirements they have through special education or bilingual services or any of the like. There's a school code that requires if you have a cluster of 20 students or more who speak the same language at a given site that you are to provide a bilingual teacher. We currently have 19 students that speak a specific language at Kaneland McDowell Elementary. Historically, so the board knows, we do typically enroll another 3 to 6 or 7 students that speak the same language after the holiday season each year. In fact, the most recent development is as of Friday, a family did come to the district to register 3 children. We're not quite sure which school, but potentially McDowell, which would be that 20th student. They have different kids at different levels, but we do anticipate meeting and exceeding that 20th student, and so thus we're here to request that extra FTE. Please know as well, there's a bit of a timing piece here. We've talked at different times about the availability of candidates for specialized programming or with specialized certifications. Bilingual certified teachers are definitely in that hard to fill category. To my knowledge, in networking with our local universities, there will be 2 December graduates. So however many districts in the area that need bilingual teachers will be vying for those 2 candidates. I'd like to get a jump on that and thus we don't have the 20th student yet. We have the historical averaging to tell us that we would get to that 20th student, and we need to be in a position to fill that the minute we do get the 20th student. So the December graduation timeframe plays into the timing of this request, and we're here to ask for that additional FTE. Please remember as well, the budgetary impact, a full FTE, our placeholder at this time is $60,000 for the year, but this would be a January start, second semester, so half of that. So the budgetary impact would be $30,000, but the board could anticipate hearing from me in the March minimum staffing plan that this would then be a regular position to maintain in the coming years as those students stay here. So any questions from the board?
Dr. Atkins, you just mentioned if the enrollment stays, we would keep the position. Conversely, if the enrollment goes down to 10, 11, or 12, if that would ever happen, then in the staffing plan, might there be the recommendation into the future to not have the position?
There's always an inverse relationship there that would have to be reevaluated as we go along. The challenge that we may encounter, that often districts do encounter, total hypotheticals, but hypothetically speaking, we stay at 19 students or it goes down to 18. We may also get 2 or 3 students. As a matter of fact, we have a student here at the high school that would require bilingual services, but we don't have the cluster. But what we would do in that instance is we would have that teacher support the cluster at whatever building and then the individual student at whatever other buildings, which is desperately needed. So it would be something we continue to monitor and then make successive recommendations to the minimum staffing plan. For sure.
Thank you. Did I cut you off, Dr. Lawler?
I was gonna say, but we're getting ahead of it. So you're good.
Even if we do go back down, let's say down to 15 at that one specific cluster, would it still behoove us to keep this bilingual teacher either way, no matter what, just so they're on staff?
I'm just walking through our buildings, and I would say at this point in time, yes.
Okay.
Because we do have the singletons or maybe 1 or 2 or 3 students
Yeah.
at different sites that speak the same language that this teacher would be able to service. So it may become not an issue of do we need the FTE, but a matter of placement.
Gotcha.
So are they fully at a building or are they at a building 4 days a week and another building another day of the week kind of thing?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
Now, Dr. Fuchs, from a budget standpoint, do we have, the availability within our budget, or we'll find it?
So
How
for
does that
this
work?
particular position, we knew that it was potentially coming, so I built it into the budget early on. So we're actually ahead because we didn't need it till a semester later.
Cool.
Okay, any other discussion or questions at this time? No? None being heard, I'll entertain a motion that the Board of Education approves 1 full-time employee for a bilingual certified staff member at Kaneland McDowell Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
And a roll call, please.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Mr. Mankivsky.
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
All right, motion passes 6-0. All right, on to the third item of new business. It's excuse me, the discussion of the Illinois Association of School Board Resolutions. Dr. Layton.
Yes, thank you. This one is a board-generated, board-driven discussion. So in a second, I'll turn it over to Board Member Kleisner. So thank you for volunteering to serve on behalf of the board at the joint annual conference this weekend. If you recall, as I talked a little bit in the salutes, that the joint annual conference is this weekend. It's an opportunity for board members to attend for professional development. And one of the things that the IASB, Illinois Association of School Boards, offer is this opportunity for resolutions. So what Board Member Kleisner will do is he'll have some conversation on the 5 different resolutions that you've studied and listen to your webinar, and then share those on behalf of the board, and the board will have discussion. And we don't need action on it, but we just do need a consensus for board members for Board Member Kleisner to take action this Saturday at the conference. So with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so thanks for giving me the opportunity to volunteer for this position. We're really looking forward to it. So what we'll do here with the IASB is we'll vote on this. We're not voting on yay or nay for the specific resolution itself. The IASB already, the committee's already came up with recommendations, so we will vote to agree or disagree with their recommendation. So they either recommended do not adopt or do adopt, and we'll either say yay or nay to their recommendation. I have my little checklist here, so whatever we vote on here, that's what I'll bring down, and then I'll vote that way on Saturday to represent our board. So I'll jump in. We have 5 resolutions. I'll do my best if you have any additional questions, but I know we all have the materials. The first one is industrial construction. This is basically it was brought up for having construction close to schools, and basically potential for hazardous, from a breathing perspective, trucks, construction right around the students and that sort of thing. It was discussed, and their analysis and what they came back with as a committee was to not adopt this resolution, mainly on the basis that some of these schools actually could potentially benefit from that, from a revenue potential revenue standpoint, for new taxes coming into the area. So their recommendation was do not adopt. So if you have any additional questions or want to discuss that further. All right, so as a board, do we agree? What, thumbs up, thumbs down?
Yes.
All right.
Just to get for consensus,
so-
to not adopt.
So the recommendation is do not adopt. Agree or disagree? All right. Agreed is the consensus. The second resolution here is school resource officer funding. Statement of resolution: the Illinois Association of School Boards shall request that the Illinois legislature consider legislation providing educational funding to all school districts to offset the cost of school resource officer. The committee's recommendation was do adopt this legislation, or at least push for this legislation. As our school board, do we agree or disagree for school resource officer funding to do adopt?
Can I do like a double?
Yeah,
Double?
I know.
I'll note it if you'd like. All right, agree. Resolution number 3 is bus driver regulations. The Illinois Association of School Board shall support changes to the federal and state school transportation regulations that return licensing requirements and driver training liability back to pre-February 2023 levels at minimum, allow local training and testing for bus driver candidates, and increase the transportation reimbursement rate from the state of Illinois to Illinois. I promise you I'm from Illinois. To 100%. So I did a little bit more reading on this because it was at first a little bit, I misunderstood what was going on here. So back in February 2023, they changed the regulations for school bus licensing, and it was a little bit more stringent. They had to go to specifically federally approved locations to get their licensing and training done, where I guess before the director for transportation was allowed to do this driving tests and driving training with the school bus drivers. The main reason for this push, it's kind of talked about over and over in here, is that we are having a shortage in school bus drivers, and that's not just Illinois, that is nationwide from what they were talking about here. So the recommendation from the committee at this point would be to do adopt the reversal, or at least push legislation to reverse back to before February 2023, if that all made sense. You guys want to discuss before voting, or questions, comments, concerns?
So is the current, I guess, licensing parameters, is it more stringent, or? So we'd basically be returning back to a less stringent.
My understanding is a little bit less stringent. Well, that's the thing. It wasn't specific that if it was more or less stringent. It was that it was through a facility that was federally accredited for specific licensing and training.
Right.
Versus, again, I think a lot of the actual driving training and license or certifications was done by the director of transportation for the specific district. So yeah, it seems like, well, I don't know that it would be more or less stringent.
The current transportation requirements, I just moved to Dr. Fuchs because you handle transportation, sorry. It sounds like it's making it more difficult, right, for onboarding for bus drivers, which is the motivation, but was there any value added to going with these federally licensed or moving with the the more stringent, if you will, licensing?
Not necessarily. Our trainers have had extra, not certifications, extra training in order to train others.
There's not much value added by.
I don't believe so. We've done a good job training in-house. They are still required to take the 8-hour course from the ROE in order to get their license, and that hasn't changed, and this doesn't change that.
Okay.
So I really like the portion of it that will have reimbursement up to 100%. Currently, the state only reimburses us approximately 72 to 80% of our costs. And that would be wonderful if it was 100. In a district like ours, we spend a disproportionate amount of money on transportation because of our geographical size, as opposed to some of our local districts in the suburbs who, for example, are 14 square miles, 10 square miles. They have a whole lot less cost than we do with 142 square miles. So proportionately, we just pay a whole lot more, and that money that we spend on transportation is not going into classrooms.
Okay. Okay.
So that would be wonderful if the state picked up everybody's costs at 100%. I'm sure it would come from somewhere else though. So where,
Right.
you know, I don't know
But
if
it's
I
one that
agree with that.
benefits Kaneland because of our transportation situation.
That's correct.
Thank
That
you.
portion of this proposal.
Thank you, Dr. Fuchs. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Ryan.
Nice little backup there. All right, any other questions on this specific resolution? All right, do we agree or disagree to support the bus driver regulations that do adopt proposal? All right, agreed. Number 4, where are we at here? Employment history review. So be it resolved that the Illinois Association of School Boards shall request the Illinois Legislature consider using the Illinois Department of Child and Family Services, Illinois DCFS, Child Abuse and Negligent Trafficking System, CANTS, as a means to fulfill the employment history review. This is my understanding, and Dr. Layden, if you got any pickup on this one, but my understanding is the district just submitted this, was proposing that we use DCFS and CANTS to do the background on for new administration teachers or to be able to support the face law, to understand their background from potential for sexual abuse or sexual misconduct.
Yep, if you recall, the employment history review went into press policy, and that's a new law for this year, to the extent that we have to do that. And right now, it falls on the districts to complete that and to check with other districts. So my guess is this district that submitted this is probably smaller, struggling with the staffing in which to do that.
Yeah.
So they're looking for another source to which to do it. So they're recommending DCFS. And as you see, it says do not adopt.
Yes.
I would agree with that, because while it is extra work on HR, we still want to keep control of that and not giving it to DCFS to do, because that might change our timeline and our requirements in which to get those things done.
Thank you for the additional background on that.
Yep.
So the recommendation here is to do not adopt using DCFS and CANTS for the background checks. Agree? All right. We'll support this. And fifth and final is alternate safe school funding. Be it resolved that the Illinois Association of School Boards shall advocate for additional funding to be provided for regional alternative safe schools to allow for an elementary appropriate program, additional funding, and approved certification programs for board certified behavior analysts, BCBA, in school districts, and additional flexibility with student discipline to help local districts provide the safest learning environment possible. We also ask that the state legislature review SB 100 and make any necessary changes to allow for more local control as it relates to student discipline post-COVID, especially at the elementary and middle school levels. The committee does recommend do not adopt to this resolution. I'm not entirely sure. There wasn't a whole lot of additional explanation to me, or at least my understanding of why they would not want to adopt additional funding from the state for alternative schools, and then more certified, especially at the elementary level. And I think this is growing based on what we're seeing here. A couple things I looked at the elementary level especially, and then the middle school level, but the elementary is the one that stood out more. Nationally, they're becoming more behavioral disruptive problems. They're seeing that. So I don't have a ton of background here, and based on what we've read here, it doesn't give a whole lot of background to me anyway, from a non-academic, of why we wouldn't want to support getting more support from the state for these specific issues.
Yep, the reason I believe they have it in here is do not adopt is under the resolution committee analysis. That first sentence talks about the IASB already has a position statement that talks about IASB advocating dollars towards the evidence-based funding model. And so that's the funding model that we currently have that supports our school districts. So I think the reason the committee is saying no is because there's already that avenue, there's that direction. This is the model they recommend using, not having a different funding model or a different source that now might shift that or change some of those dollars away from the evidence-based funding, which is a model that's been used for 5 or 6 years now, and to have to go in and reshift and change that, or use advocacy dollars for this system that is already in place to fund it to a degree. So that's where the difference is.
Okay. But it also deals with requesting a review of SB 100, which has been a complete disaster.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bob. I think though, it's probably the way this is formatted, right? Because this is a very complicated, like usually focus on one thing. It's focusing on too many things. And I think that's the problem. Somebody needs to come in and say, let's just review SB 100, and then people will get behind that, right? But if you've got too many, I'm gonna mix up metaphors here, but too many cooks in the kitchen, right? That's the problem.
Well, it's an omnibus, look at like it's omnibus
Yeah.
resolution as opposed to, you know, as the legislature says, single topic, allegedly supposed to be single topic.
Yeah.
But SB 100 just cries out. I mean, having SB 100 in a application, it just demands, because we're getting absurd results
I agree.
from the absurd extreme.
And maybe, and I'm not saying we should do this, it's like throwing this out there, but maybe this board might consider doing something like this and writing one of these for that exact reason,
Percent
right?
bill 100 for next year.
Yeah, right. And maybe we write one and propose one that's more focused and isn't this mission. And I'm no critique to the people that wrote this, but it's a little bit too many things.
So this is more to, it could be potentially contradictory to the evidence-based funding that it's already established in the way that they're already routing and how they're trying to get funding for supporting more BCBA and issues at the school level.
Yes.
So, okay. Thanks for the additional clarity and background on that. So the alternative safe school funding, the committee proposed do not adopt. Do we agree or disagree? Or
I just can't not support introducing an evaluation of SB 100. I think it's.
I guess what I took is that it would confuse, like,
I understand, and I
Right.
understand the point that was made and
Yeah.
how it could be written differently, but I still think we should take a stab, and then if we have to come back next year and take a stab, I think we should throw as many stones as we can at this thing and you know, hope one sticks. That's a terrible analogy, but you know.
No,
And not to be argumentative, because the will of the board, just to throw this out there though, it's about directing IASB to spend its funds in a certain way. And in this circumstance now, it's going to spend its funds in like too many it's too many pots, right? Like it doesn't have one pot, right? You gotta put it in one pot. So now it's gonna spread it out. But I mean,
Based on the results of the resolution statewide.
yeah,
That
right.
voting piece that that board member Kleisner will do Saturday.
But it doesn't matter. I mean, we're gonna vote and then you're gonna go and I'll still gonna shoot you down.
One of the things I think will be of value was when you attend the resolution and when they have the discussion on this and share that out, that feedback back to the board on how they talk about this, I think will be helpful for our board and for me as an administrator to hear.
Absolutely.
And to get a sense of where all the other districts are
Yeah.
that speak on SB 100. Because,
I'm sure we're not the only district that's struggling with
No.
this.
I hope,
Okay. Yeah, no, I'll take extra notes. I'll be excited to report back. So just so I'm clear, that final one was unanimous disagree, or not unanimous, but majority disagree. Consensus. Thank you. All right, that is all I got. Appreciate your support.
Thank you. And again, a reminder, those of us that are attending the joint annual conference at the next board meeting will share out some of our findings. So we look forward to hearing those findings from that session. Right? So thank you.
A special thank you to you for taking on this role. It's,
Absolutely.
yeah, it's important and it's
Appreciate the opportunity.
okay. Well, that includes new business for tonight, and at this point, we'll move on to the board and superintendent reports. Dr. Layton.
Yes, the first thing I have is, we've touched base on it a little bit. This Friday through Sunday is the joint annual conference in Chicago, and the joint part of it is, it's the superintendent conference, the school business conference, and board members. All three of those groups make up the joint conference, and there are multiple sessions for board members and administrators to attend across all of those three areas. So I think that's a valuable conference, a valuable time. Next week for Kaneland, I won't talk about the break because I think Katie has that in her update, so I won't steal her thunder on that one. But next week on Monday and Tuesday, on Monday we have our Ignite conference, which is a district-wide conference, professional development, and it's always real impressive because there are between 50 and 70 staff presenters that attend to our that present and attend to our peers. So it's our teachers, our administrator leaders meet together and provide those workshops district-wide on Monday. So that's district-wide, and then on Tuesday, those are building-based SIP days. So our students are not in attendance Monday or Tuesday due to these professional development opportunities. And I think Katie, when she gets up to the microphone, she'll talk about the Wednesday piece and how that leads into break. So those are the updates that I have.
Okay, Dr. Fuchs.
Don't have anything.
Nothing tonight. Miss Katie, you're up.
Good evening. I would like to first start off by saying for students across the district, this week is the last week before Thanksgiving break. As I have previously mentioned, a reminder that picture retakes for high school students are tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. in the Black Box Theater. Also, KHS is having its holiday concert this week, which includes both band and choir students. For sports updates, the winter season is starting up. Tonight, girls varsity basketball plays at Marengo High School for the Burlington Central Invite, and girls freshman sophomore basketball plays at West Aurora for the Batavia Invite. Unfortunately for us, recently boys bowling fell to Oswego East. On November 11th, a selected number of band and choir students participated in the Illinois Music Education Association District 9 Senior Festival and got to perform with students from other schools. Continuing with music, the Madrigal Dinner is coming up fast. Tickets are on sale now through Thursday, December 4th at 6 p.m. or until otherwise sold out. The time slots for the Madrigal Dinner include Friday, December 8th at 7 p.m., Saturday, December 9th at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m., and Sunday, December 10th at 2 p.m. This event is held in the KHS cafeteria, with the tickets being $28, including both the dinner and the performance. Something that the high school is bringing back this year is the blood drive. This will take place on Friday, December 15th. For students interested in donating, a friendly reminder that you must be at least 16 years old and can only donate during non-academic periods. When students get back from Thanksgiving break, they will start the process for selecting classes for the next school year. And lastly, for future dates, the deadline for ordering caps and gowns is November 27th for seniors. Thank you. That is all I have for tonight.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks.
Appreciate it. Okay, next up is going to be the Board of Education, myself. I'm going to go ahead and provide you all with a superintendent search update. So forgive me, it's a little bit of a longer narrative, but we just want to give you an update on where we are in the superintendent search process. On October 11, 2023, the Board of Education, at the Board of Education meeting, we started the process of hiring the new superintendent by announcing Dr. Todd Layden's planned retirement and search process protocols. Parents, so I'll provide you an update on the next steps. Parents, students, teachers, support staff, administrators, and community members participated in an anonymous survey to express their views on the school district and on the qualities they'd like to see in the next superintendent. The survey results were available on the district's website on October 31st, 2023. There were 600 respondents. Thank you all who responded. So thank you. On October 26th, the Board of Education hosted a focus group with the CAC members and other members of the community to gather feedback from the community about the next superintendent to lead the Kaneland School District. The feedback received was valuable, insightful, and played an instrumental role in developing the leadership profile and interview questions. And I feel like I can speak on behalf of the board based on conversations we've had that it was a valuable time spent, and also laid the foundation for future opportunities in letting allowing the board to connect with the community. So we hope to put together things similar to this, different topics to allow us to achieve our goal of having a stronger connection with the community. So thank you to all who showed up, and thank you to the board members who participated. Based on that, a leadership profile was developed and will serve as an additional resource for identifying the best candidate for the Kaneland superintendent position. Some of the interview questions were created based on your feedback and will be used through the interview process. We want to express our sincere gratitude to all those who participated in the focus group. Your input identified the specific qualities and characteristics the community seeks in a superintendent. On November 6th, the Board of Education held the first round of superintendent interviews at Kaneland Harder Middle School. The interview teams were made up of 30 Kaneland community members, including board members, staff, parents, and students. We appreciate your participation in the superintendent search interview to find the best candidate to lead the district. The next step will be the finalist interviews, which will be held on November 29th. Then we will continue to evaluate the candidates until the anticipated decision is made on December 11th. The valuable feedback has played a critical role in the decision-making process to hire a candidate who meets and needs the expectations of our district. So at this point, we feel confident that we have strong candidates. We are going to continue to discuss in closed session based on the information we have, and collaborate in determining the process of narrowing down these candidates and arriving at the next superintendent to lead our district. So I don't know how many times it's been said, but I'll say it one more time. Thank you all for your help and input at this point, and we will continue to do our best to make the right decision for our community. And that's all I have on that. Are there any topics for future agendas we would like to discuss at this time? Yes.
I'd like to discuss with the other board members where we should possibly go out for a request for proposal to either A, expand services, or B, save money. Because a lot of what we're buying right now was done during the COVID period, shortages, supply chain disruptions, of just things that were a while back. We need to take the opportunity to do some review, figure out where we need to go out for RFPs and go get some. If we can save some money, improve some services, like, I'm looking at a bunch of the technology, and our technology director has done an outstanding job. However, the ubiquity of like wireless communication, for example, utilities, other things, we should probably take a look at that, you know, as good financial stewards of the people of this district and for the students.
So as a directive, do we want to, I mean, identify specifically? Because I know this has come up before, and we kind of left it broad, and you know, we were given broad information back. I mean, is there any way to identify more specifics in proceeding, or what do you guys think? Because I know this has been brought up before, and I think it's a valid request. I just want to make sure we're actually moving forward, as opposed to, you know, getting this high level information and saying, okay, well, you know.
I think it would be good as a board to go through what topics, what services, what goods, what services we need to take a look at and go out and update what our services, goods are. We haven't had a good look at this in 3 years.
We talking like custodial services, food service?
We should each as board members take a good hard look at what we're purchasing as a district. And can we improve the quality, or can we improve the price? Can we improve the value for the taxpayers of our district, as well as the services for our staff and our students?
Dr. Fuchs, what I would ask, at the last board meeting, you presented that list and shared that document. What I would ask is, those that we have extended contracts for, we would keep those contracts. Those that are upcoming and those that are coming to a close, are all of those brought to the board for board discussion and approval at some point? Because I just want to make sure that if it's already built into the process, that we bring all of these to the board, that it is a conversation and action that does take place for the board to have.
That is exactly true. I gave you the list last time. It was very detailed with the start and stop of all contracts. Any contract that is existing, we're under contract with them, and that utility or that service was bid in order to get that contract. Everything on that list was bid at that date, and we're under contract with them until the date that's listed. And so I know for a fact all of our utilities are under contract. To your point, Dr. Layden, once they're up, yes, I bring that to the board. The board says, yes, go out to bid, and we go through the process. So utilities in particular, that's being done, and we're under contract.
Is there any room for, is there any opportunity for potential savings in any aspect of the district based on what we have now? I mean, is there any, whether it's toilet paper, you know, paper products, or?
The paper products we purchase from a cooperative. You certainly can price check and comparison check on things like that, but we are getting cooperative prices. We used to bid some of that, but the cooperative pricing has been more advantageous because you can bundle it with other paper towels, toilet paper, napkins, etc. So we are getting cooperative pricing on that. Is there something else in particular that you're curious about that wasn't on that list? Anything over $25,000, and we're required to bid, so we do.
Yeah.
So I'm not,
Let me review the list.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll review the list, I'll put it up, and propose where appropriate.
Yeah.
and then give me a call if there's something I can do
Yeah.
research for you, before you bring it to the board, and then that way you'll have all the data that
Okay.
you need. Okay? Thank you.
Anything else this time? No, we're good. Okay, that brings us to round 2 of public comments. So at this point, we do not have anyone signed up, but would anyone like to take this opportunity to address the board? Yes, ma'am. Same parameters as before.
Okay, one more comment. Um, Thankful that the school board is getting rid of standard-based grading since it was destructive to learning. Glad they're seeing that it wasn't working and they're making this very important change. Teachers have been talking and they feel things are moving in the right direction. They would really like to see the no phone policy go into effect in January. This means that all students would turn their phones off as they walk in the door, along with earbuds, and they wouldn't be able to pick them up until class was over. Teachers said it's such a distraction, work is not getting done, it's causing the kids to fall behind in classes. Teachers are competing with a phone and it's not right. They can't control all the kids, and if they ask kids to put phones away, they get sarcastic remarks, ignored, or told off. This is really a big problem. This problem could easily be fixed at no cost to do it. So it would be a huge improvement to the learning environment and one of the most important things that you could do to support the teachers.
Thank you for your comments. Would anyone else like to take this opportunity to address the board? No? Okay. Well, then we're going to proceed with closed session at this time. The Board of Education is scheduled for a closed session to discuss the Illinois Open Meetings Act 2C1 and the amended or the added 2C10, where there will be no action taken following the session. Therefore, after we go to vote into closed session, after the vote to go into closed session, the recording of tonight's meeting will be concluded. At this time, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session at 8:32 p.m.
So moved.
Second. All right, and a roll call, please.
Mr. Mankowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kleisner.
Aye.
Mrs. Simmons.
Aye.
Mr. McCauley.
Aye.
Dr. Lawler.
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Aye. 6-0. We are now going to proceed